So today we're making homemade body butter and deodorant. For years I've been looking for products that have minimal ingredients because my skin is really sensitive and I can't put anything on it. And I like to have, soft skin like everybody else. So I was looking around and could never really find anything that I liked. Stuff has lots of ingredients, even if it's natural. So I thought, how hard can this be? Like, I can make my own body butter. And it turns out I can, and it's very easy. So I'm going to show you today how I do it. It only has a few ingredients. Actually, the ingredients that I have here sort of is my whole beauty routine. So in terms of face oil or face cream, the only thing I use is the jojoba oil. I buy this brand. It's called Aura Cassia or something like that. I get it at the grocery store. You can buy it on Amazon. It's like maybe $20, $25 for this bottle. It lasts me a long time. I don't put anything else on my face except for that. I wash my face with water. I put the jojoba oil on my face, and that is it. The other thing that I will use is the body butter. So I use that on my neck and on the rest of my body. And that also has the jojoba oil in it, along with some other things that we're gonna use today. And then I have my deodorant, which is sort of a combination of the same ingredients again. Very simple products that we're gonna make. This is like my whole beauty routine right here. I don't wear makeup, maybe a little bit of eyeliner and eyebrow pencil, maybe, but that's about it. So I highly recommend, though, foregoing the expensive creams and all of that stuff, like, whatever. You might get some wrinkles as you get older, but like, who cares? Like, I just think it's ridiculous the amount of money that we spend on beauty products, and we don't really need them. And it can be as simple as one thing. I think rose hip oil, my daughter uses rose hip oil. So as long as it's a non-comedogenic, like it doesn't clog your pores, seems kind of counterintuitive that you put an oil on your face, but as long as you get the right oil, it's actually amazing. So I highly recommend trying this out. Anyway, we're gonna make the body butter today, and I will include the recipe in the description, but all that to say, these are the ingredients. So we have coconut oil. Buy this from Costco. It's not sure how much, $30 maybe for a jar like this. And this lasts literally forever. So that's number one ingredient. Number two ingredient is shea butter. I get this from Amazon. Again, I can't remember how much this costs, but it lasts me maybe 4 times making the body butter. So natural shea butter with nothing else in it, just raw, pure, natural, unrefined shea butter. Then there is the cocoa butter wafers. So it just looks like white chocolate, but it's just cocoa butter with no sugar or anything like that in it. And that kind of is what gives it the most smell, I think. And I like it, but you sort of dilute it with the other stuff, so it's not that strong. And then the last ingredient is the arrowroot powder. Let me just check here. So shea butter, cocoa chips, coconut oil. You pick your own essential oils if you want to put that in. Maybe I'll put that in. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that this time. And then the arrowroot powder, which is the thing that makes it less greasy. This is sort of like the secret ingredient. You can get this at like Bulk Barn. So arrowroot powder makes it less greasy, and it just kind of makes it a little bit fluffier. So we're going to use that. First thing we're going to do is cut the shea butter. So I have it usually comes in a plastic bag. But once I cut it, then I just wrap it up in paper. So it is 1 cup of unrefined shea butter, so a little bit more than that. I bought a pot from the thrift store, and this is just my sort of my body butter pot. It cleans up just fine anyways, even if you use it for other things, but I just use it for my shea butter. So 1 cup. So this is maybe not quite a cup. And I don't always get everything exact. So sometimes it's a little thicker, sometimes it's a little fluffier, you know. I don't worry too much about it. So we'll call that a cup. So that's about that. And then we'll take the cocoa chips, and that is a cup as well. So 1 cup, maybe a little more cocoa chips. I'm not a baker, so I don't get things exact all the time. And then 1/3 of a cup of coconut oil. Just grab a spoon here. So also, you know, talking about minimal ingredients, it's literally 4 things. And 3 of them, or no, I guess 2 of them, no, 3 of them, you could, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ingredients, not counting the essential oils. And you can eat coconut oil, you can eat the cocoa chips, you can eat the arrowroot powder. So really just the jojoba oil and the shea butter you can't eat. So, I mean, it just is, you know, pretty basic, and you know what's going into this. 1/3 of a cup of coconut oil. That's about right. And then all you do is you take those 3 things and put it on the stove until it melts. And it literally will take about 2 minutes to melt. So just leave it like that. I mean, you don't really need to do anything. Just, it's not likely to burn unless you're just leaving it here forever. Almost done. It's been about 2 minutes. The only downside is that you can't make it all immediately, because now, once it's melted, we have to put it in the freezer so that it solidifies again. Melting it just so that we could mix all the ingredients together. Okay, so it's completely melted, and I'm going to, we've stirred it around so it's fully stirred, put the lid on it, and I'm going to put it in my freezer. I want to look in my freezer, it's full of meat. Will there be space? So hopefully, actually, let's go back in for a minute. If I put that on the counter, it will break the glass. So we'll start that again. So it's fully, we're gonna put it in the freezer, but I'm gonna leave it out just until it cools down. And then I'm gonna put it in my freezer in the garage. Because if I put this in the freezer right now, it'll probably break the glass. So I'm just gonna leave it here until it's cooled down a little bit, put it in the freezer, then it will solidify, and then we do the next step. So while we're waiting for that, we're gonna make the deodorant, which is even easier to make than this. So it is 5 tablespoons of coconut oil. And again, I don't measure completely, but 1. I just, you know, kind of guess. I know it's smart, maybe 10. Let's just do a little bit more. There, we'll say that's 5. A 1/2 cup of baking, or is it 1/2 cup? Yeah, 1/2 cup of baking soda, which I'm just gonna put some in here. I don't want to use too much baking soda. And then 1/2 cup of arrowroot powder. And why is it that it... And then you would use your essential oils. This does not look like this. That has shea butter in it. I did it different. I think what I did is I used the body butter and I mixed it with this. So I think I'm going to do the same thing again. Just to add a little of the other stuff, the smelly cocoa butter. But you have to add the baking soda and the arrowroot powder, because that is the thing that, I guess, absorbs the sweat. I don't even know. I don't think it doesn't stop you from sweating. It just stops you from smelling. And I think it works pretty well, because I made my husband smell my armpits sometimes. Okay, so we're going to leave that. And then once the body butter is made, I'm going to mix some of the body butter with this. It just has a little more of the arrowroot powder and baking soda. I don't know if I like that. I feel like I don't. What I might do is just take the body butter and add a little extra arrowroot powder to it. Cut that out. I don't know. So I bought these containers off of Uline. I got a big box of them because I was going to make it and then sell it, but it's too much work. So I just give it away to people. But I like the jars. So, and I call it gold because it is worth gold. It's expensive to make, but probably more expensive to buy if you had to. So these are the two final products. Sometimes they're softer or fluffier depending on, you can see I don't measure, so depending on my measurements. But this batch was a little bit hard, but even still, like it comes out, you know, comes out like this. And then as soon as it goes on your skin, it just melts. And because of the arrowroot powder, it might look greasy now, but it actually, it's not. It goes on and absorbs into your skin, and it's not greasy after about, 1 minute. And it's great. I love it. So that's that. That's the body butter. And then the deodorant, which we have yet to figure out the exact recipe, is the same stuff, except it has a little more arrowroot powder in it. And so it's a little more coarse. Like it feels a little more sandy. But again, it just melts and that's it. Smells good. So body butter day 2, it's been in the freezer all night so that the oils could solidify together, but now it's frozen. So this is going to take a few hours to just soften enough that we can mix it with the jojoba oil and the arrowroot powder and then any essential oils that we want to add. And then it will be done. But it takes some time in between the steps to, do everything that you need to do. So we will come back to that. So we're back to making our body butter. This is day 3 of making body butter. It's a very simple thing to make. The only problem with it is it takes time. So you have to melt the oils, then you have to put it in the freezer to really solidify the oils together, and then you need to let it sit long enough that you can actually manipulate it again. So this is sort of the next day. Usually you can do it in 2 days. You put it in the freezer for a few hours and then let it sit for a few hours. So now we have all the oils melted in here, and you can see I can sort of push it with my finger and I can sort of make it move around in there. It's not solid anymore. So that's the start. And then the only things that are left to add to that is I like to add a little bit of vitamin E oil but now my hands are slippery. And you take the jojoba oil, which is just jojoba oil, nothing else. Mix in a few drops of vitamin E oil, and then any essential oils that you want to use. So you don't necessarily have to use any essential oils, and sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but this time I'm going to. I would say because it has the cocoa chips or the cocoa butter chips or whatever, cacao or like whatever the heck you want to call it, I don't even know how to say it. Because it has that in it, it kind of smells like chocolate. And so I have learned from the past that I mixed it once with patchouli and it was like horrendous. Like I couldn't handle that. So you have to pick something that goes with chocolate. So I like the orange. So we're going to add sweet orange, and then whatever goes with sweet orange that smells good. There's bergamot and lavender. So we're going to add a few drops of each of these into the jojoba oil with the vitamin E, mix that together, and then dump that whole thing into here. So let's do that. Okay, so the recipe calls for 2/3 of a cup of jojoba oil, which, as you know, I don't measure, but it's most of one of these containers. So I'm just going to pour about that much into my little cup there. And the rest I will save to use as my face moisturizer. I take that upstairs. And then we have the vitamin E. Literally put in a tiny little bit of that. And then I like to do this outside because I have a very sensitive nose and my husband makes fun of me, but I'm going to put this in outside because they're very strong. I know, it's a little crazy. And I find that about 30 drops total works well. It's not too strong, but it's also, you can smell it a little bit. So I start with the sweet orange. And if it's 30 drops total, we're going to do maybe 12 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of the orange. And then, actually I might not use completely all 30. It's just 12 of the orange, and then maybe 6 of the lavender, because lavender is a bit stronger. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the bergamot is also strong, so you can smell that already. 6 of these. You don't need much. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you always dilute this. Putting that directly on your skin is not a good idea. Okay, hold on, stay there. So now we're just gonna mix it. So it's thoroughly mixed together, and then bring it back inside. Okay, so now we're just going to add the jojoba oil mixture to the pot of the other oils. Then 2 teaspoons of arrowroot powder. This is a tablespoon, so I'm just going to, again, just sort of eyeball it. And that is to just sort of make it smoother and less greasy. And it gives it also a little bit of, it thickens it a little bit. So now the job is to mix this all together. And when it's completely frozen, obviously, you can't do that. But once you start sort of chopping at it, it melts a little bit more. You heat it up a little bit just by moving it around. And then, this is probably the hardest part. So if anything is hard about this other than waiting, it's mixing it. And you can use a mixer, it says, but I only have a hand mixer. And so I like to actually just work it myself. So now you can see it starting to melt. So it will get like more melted, and then as you let it sit again, it gets a little bit harder again. So don't worry about it like turning to a liquid. It won't do that. Even when it's hot, it might get soft, but it won't just completely melt. So you just kind of squish out all the lumps and bumps in here. If you had a blender or a mixer, that's when you can make it really buttery. But we can kind of get it there just by really beating it. Woo! Blew out. You might take turns. So you can see it's getting fluffy. And that's sort of the goal here. The longer you beat it, the fluffier it gets. But that's good enough for me. Basically, that is it. So then you just need to have something to put it in. We're gonna give it a smell here. Try it out. Yeah, I like that. It's not too strong. It really just smells sort of orangey chocolate. What we're gonna do, that's the deodorant, is we're gonna fill this one up. So this is the old one. I'm gonna just refill that one because this one didn't have any, I didn't put any essential oil in this one. So this is just plain. I wouldn't mix two that have different essential oils in it, but this one doesn't have any. So I'm gonna put some in there. Fill this one up again. Pretty good. And then, this is a new jar. I'm gonna fill this one up to give to my daughter. Lid on here. No, this is a new one. And then what we're gonna do is take the rest of it. So we have the other bowl that we were making the deodorant in. And I don't remember where I got this recipe for deodorant, but I guess you can use this as just deodorant, which is baking soda, arrowroot powder, and coconut oil. But what I think I did before is I took leftover of my body butter and added it to the deodorant mix. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna take what's in here, add it to this one. So if you're still using deodorant that has aluminum in it, probably should stop that. You don't need to necessarily get your own or make your own deodorant, but there's lots of natural brands of deodorant now. My favorite is Routine, and I like, which one? No, it was, can't remember what it's called now. Because this is expensive to make, you don't want to waste any. So you get yourself a spatula so you can get out, you know, almost all of it. What I usually do is I leave the pot and then I use my fingers and take it out and put it on my body so that I don't waste any. Okay, so now we have the body butter and we mix it with the deodorant mixture, which is all the same things anyway. This just has some baking soda and more coconut oil, but there's coconut oil in the body butter, so it's really just baking soda. So it'll be a little bit thicker. Once it solidifies and everything, it'll be just thicker. Hopefully. Maybe not. I guess we'll find out. This is sort of a flying by the seat of my pants batch. Okay. That's that. This is sort of how thick the other deodorant is. And again, it just melts right into your skin. So, I'm gonna do this. This coconut oil has made it runnier. Maybe it will be runnier, who knows? Doesn't matter. None of it will really stop you from sweating. Not even any of the natural deodorants are not going to stop you from sweating, which is actually not a bad thing. You want to sweat. It might help the smell. So I guess that's good, but you're going to get a jar of this test. Clean up the jar. Deodorant here. Okay, so let's just take a look at the final, Let's just take a look at the final products here. See if I can figure out which one is which. So it actually looks like the body butter is thicker than the deodorant at this point. So maybe I messed up the deodorant. I can't exactly remember the recipe, but either way it'll be fine. It's just, it might be more liquid. So maybe don't trust me on the deodorant just because I mix them together, but definitely the body butter. I've made it so many times and I really love it. Yeah, so you can make it smell how you want, and it's not the cheapest, but you know exactly what goes in it. And this will last me, you know, at least a couple months. So there you go. Enjoy.